Good morning. I remember one time, well, it's not that long ago, but I remember a girl said to me before, I'm closing the door on you. She said, I'm not going to allow you to stand in the door and block it for others coming through. And I says, oh, by all means, close it. I didn't see anyone having any trouble getting past, you know. But she didn't close it, the universe did. But I knew exactly what she meant. And yesterday I decided I'm going to close a few doors because, as Seneca said, the greatest waste of life is anticipation. And really, you just have to deal with things as is, not how you think they ought to be or how you'd like them to be. And no response is a response. So I decided I'm going to close a few doors and do what I've done all my life. Cut the ballast so that the balloon rises. You have to cut the ballast. You have to ask yourself, well, what's worth keeping and what's worth letting go. Cut the ballast for the balloon to rise. The balloon won't rise if you don't cut the ballast. So I cut the ballast. I'm cutting the ballast, yeah, and I'm back in the gym yesterday, so we start fresh. A new chapter. This is another chapter of the gym. Maybe I can see no reason why I can't keep it going this time, but then again, I could see no reason why I couldn't keep it going previous times either. But I think the podcast is going well. I think the content, I know my worth, I'm not a fool, I know my worth. I know that the content of this podcast is good enough to take your brain to another dimension. And I'll explain the benefits of that in a minute. But I was trying to show the girl that studied the psychology. I was trying to put her on the Facebook page because I said because of the memes and the songs correlate with the videos. It makes it a lot easier to process what I'm saying. It makes it easier to parse what I'm saying, to process what I'm saying. Because the memes are subliminal and the songs are subliminal, but yet if you concentrate on them and listen to them and focus, you'll open up new neural pathways. So I know the value of my content, but basically what I was saying is that I couldn't put her on the Facebook page. So basically I'm being contained. Access is restricted to the Facebook page, but this is Stoic circles, you start with your family, so that'd be the brother, that's done, then community, and then the circles widen out. As well as I said to a lad yesterday, the universe has to be very careful of what money it gives me, because if it gives me too much money all of a flash, it will be very hard to contain me. I'll tell you that, you wouldn't know what the fuck I'd do, but the only way you can contain me is helping with poverty, but that can't last forever. I still have to achieve my destiny. I still have to achieve my I'm on the right path, and at some point it's going to have to at some point it's going to have to let me go, it's going to have to release me, but until such time, but as I say, the train has left the station. The train has left the station. And who's on it is on it, and who's not on it is not on it. But the train has left the station yesterday. Basically, know when to let go. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm also it was a purpose for today's podcast. I wanted to tell you a few other things. Bruce Lee said. Was the man. Bruce Lee was a bit of a philosopher himself, and he was quite good with the philosophy, but it was Bruce Lee who said that man tends to settle into patterns, and then these patterns become him, he becomes he gets up every morning, eats his breakfast at 8 o'clock, he reads his paper, he goes to his job, he fucking goes for a shite or his tea or whatever at 10:20 or 10:30, and then he goes for his lunch at 1 o'clock, comes home, does this routine patterns, and these patterns become you. As he said, I recognise the need to check myself and step outside of all patterns, The approach is far more arduous than settling into the better cage of groupthink, but infinitely more rewarding and enlightening. Now, the problem with settling into these patterns is that the brain can very easily settle into the default mode network, and this is when people become they nearly lose the will to live. But of course, some then live for others, and there's all sorts of branches off this. But you know what I'm saying? Like, for example, like, you know. When I originally got the lift installation job, when I started serving my time as a T3 to call it, so I was already a fitter. I was already had a trade, but then because you have a trade, you have to serve a shorter time to qualify as a lift engineer. So I started this sort of apprenticeship, if you like, but a shorter apprenticeship because I already had a trade, but as a lift to serve my time as a lift engineer. But after a while, I found the job quite monotonous because it was repetitive, you know. Like once I put in 3-4 lifts, it came to me quite quickly, like, and it became then repetitive, like, you know, because there was no great stimulation for the brain. So I started to trade. And this is when I noticed that these patterns, there's patterns in the trading, and you start to see patterns in life, and I found like that if I used to always say, like, and this was very stimulating for the brain. This was a great time in my life because first of all, like, you know, I used to buy the Financial Times every morning. Now, lots of people used to trade, but they used to all trade on tips and bollocksology from everybody else. Basically, they didn't think for themselves. But I used to always say that the same information is available to everybody. You don't need a broker. You don't need anything like this. That the same information is available to everybody. So I always made a point of getting up at 6 o'clock every morning. I was in the shop. The minute the shop opened, I was buying the Financial Times. And have the Financial Times read by 8 o'clock. This was the most important thing. Have the Financial Times read by 8 o'clock. Because even though you had access to all the information on the computer, if you didn't know what you're looking for, and you didn't know what you're specifically looking for, it's very hard to actually find the relevant information. But if you buy the Financial Times, which was, everybody was saying, like, oh, this is old school, you know, but if you buy the Financial Times, all the relevant information that relates to the market was handed to you on a fucking plate, and all you had to do was get up and have it read by 8 o'clock by the time the market opens. And then I found that one of the patterns I found was, if I used to only buy in information technology all the time, and the reason I bought information technology was because no matter whether it goes up or down, even though it fluctuated like fuck, which is exactly what I needed to make money, even though it fluctuated like fuck, information technology always would be moving forward. Change is the only constant, but technology will always be moving forward. Always. So if you're good with your picks, like at this time, like everybody was changing their phones every fucking 2 weeks, everyone was buying a new phone, me included. And so I used to buy ARM Holdings, which made the handsets for Nokia, made the handsets for Motorola. They made the handsets for everybody. So ARM Holdings was a winner. Like, it was a winner. It didn't matter whether it fluctuated up or down, or left, right, or centre. This was a winner. Another one I bought was Partis Technologies, which was doing the Bluetooth technology. And I've made a fortune on Partis Technologies, a fortune, because you just have to look at what they're doing, and you have to look at their quarterly returns, and you have to say to yourself, this is big. The opportunity for this is fucking massive. This was for Bluetooth, like, and I was writing this, but they were leading the technology at the time in Bluetooth technology. Marconi, I made a fortune on Marconi, who were rolling out the broadband cable, the digital broadband cable in England. They had the contract for rolling out the broadband cable in England. I made a fortune on Marconi, and this is the sort of thinking that I was able to make a lot of money using logic, you know. But anyway, but this was very mentally stimulating, and I didn't give one fuck about the money. But it was like playing a video game. It was just like playing a video game. And I used to sit on top of the lift. I had a lad in the army doing my trades for me, because he was trading 0.5% rather than using the broker. But it's a long story. Anyway, To make a long story short, what I want to tell you is that when I made a lot of money on Marconi, I then went into futures, which means I started leveraging my money. Now, this is borrowing your money. Now, when I was borrowing my money, because this is leveraging your money, means that if you have 5,000, you can trade for 25,000. You can leverage your money five times. So if you have 6 grand in your account, you can leverage it. You can leverage it, and you can trade for 25 grand a trade. Actually, 25 grand was the minimum trade in futures at the time. That was the minimum trade, was 25 grand trade. But basically, anyway, to make a long story short, I fucked off to America, leaving on I made a lot of money. I made a lot of money. I remember sleeping in the bed one night after making 40 grand in one day on Partis Technologies, and I couldn't sleep because I was lying in the bed saying to myself, "Oh, I have enough money to buy an IS200. I have enough money to buy an IS200." But I didn't buy the IS200. I stayed trading. I stayed leveraging the money, because I always leveraged it out to the absolute fucking balls, to the maximum. Everything to me was to the maximum. But anyway, my point is, I fucked off to America for 3 weeks and I lost everything. This was basically, my point is, I hadn't got control. I hadn't got control because it was borrowed money. And then again on this, I have to hurry up with this. I lost my business because the banks pulled the rug from under me, pulled my credit line from under me, and again showed me my complete lack of self-control, my complete lack of control, because I was operating on a credit line. And then they go to take your house. They went to take my house. Well, I didn't. Well, it's a story in itself, because they didn't get to take much off me. But anyway, basically what I'm trying to say is, then after this, after I lost everything, when I was back in Hostel Mostel in Sofia, a lad gave me, I was telling people he could make 2 to 3 to 5% a day. Now I said you can make 5% a day trading, and they said no way you can make 5% a day. And I said you can make 5% a day. You can make 5% a day if you exploit these patterns that I'm talking about, these patterns. But I wanted to say so much about the patterns. But anyway, I'm running out of time. But basically, a lad gave me 300 quid, and I was going well, and I was proving I was making 2 to 3% a day. And if I really pushed the button, I really focused, I could make 5% a day. But the 5% a day, of course, is not guaranteed. But this is very possible, to 5% a day. Buying companies like Boeing. Boeing is going nowhere. It's a blue chip company that at that time, when I was in Hostel Mostel in Sofia, it was 105. That's for nothing. For nothing on Boeing. That's for nothing. I don't know what it is now, so why would I look? I've no money. But another 2 companies I bought was Aurora and the other wheat company in Canada, because these are logical buys, because America is going into a recession, and the reason that these companies are on the floor, they're not really, because they're not showing any profits. They're not showing any profits, but the fucking agents think, oh, there's no profits, but basically they're merging, they're growing, and they're getting to a position that when North America, which is inevitable, that North America, like the likes of New York and that, will legalize weed, they're in a position to exploit this market. And then I wouldn't mind only when America goes into a recession, they'll smoke weed till it comes out of their arsehole. They'll fucking smoke weed. That's all they do, is sit and smoke weed to alleviate their misery. So the weed market is anyway. Again, I didn't learn from my mistakes, and this is what I'm saying. You have to use the past. I didn't learn from my mistakes, and I was going to talk about how nature brings us into a catch and release. It stays giving you back these reoccurring patterns to see, did you learn anything? But anyway, even though I said I'll never borrow money again, there I was sitting trading my 300 and had it up to about 500 or 600. I was going well, like trading, just not borrowing any money. Next thing I saw the oil fluctuating like fuck. And it was sort of like the universe was saying to me, come on. Like it was fishing. And then I said, oh fuck it, go on. And I leveraged the money. I went into the oil futures, leveraged the money. And the minute I was on the wagon, boom, straight down. Didn't even lose my money. Then it started. It went against every decision I made. But this, I know, like you'd say, oh, the market doesn't fluctuate against you. But I was even saying to myself, is it just my phone, or is everybody fucking experiencing this? Or is it just my own personal reality, like. But whether it was everybody was experiencing it or whether they weren't, the universe took my money. But basically, why did it take my money? Because I didn't learn anything. I didn't learn anything. If you borrow money, you're relinquishing all control. You're relinquishing all control. Do you understand? But basically, the moral of the story is I didn't learn from the past, and sometimes you have to go 2 or 3 times before you learn from the past. And this applies to relationships. This applies to everything, and this is the whole point. The moral of the story is learn from the past. Now, I wanted to correlate this with the future, but we'll have to talk about this maybe tomorrow, another day. Bye. See ya.